Hello, everyone. If you would just give us maybe 5 more minutes, we're getting some folks still settled in their seats. We have room up in the balcony. So if you would like a bird's eye view, there's lots of room up there. We also have a simulcast happening outside in the courtyard. Okay, so if you want fresh air, you can go out there. And we'll be starting as soon as we get everyone settled. Thank you. You're good. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for your patience. I really appreciate all of that. I know that BJ and Nicole and the whole family is just so grateful for your presence here today. I'm Reverend Deanne Morency. I'm the senior minister at Unity in Marin, and it has been my honor to get to work with John. This is going to be one of those afternoons, right? So welcome. Welcome to a place that he thought of as home. Welcome to a place that he loved. And he poured so much of his energy and so much of his time and so much of his talents here at Unity in Marin. I hope at some point you will all, after the celebration of life, you can go up into the meditation garden, which was John's raison d'etre, actually. Like, he just poured so much of his grace into that garden. So here at Unity, we we honor and we believe in the divinity that we each are. And that's what we're doing here today. We're celebrating the divinity and the light that John was in the world and for each of us personally. And we have a song that we sing at the beginning of all of our services that John loved. And I'm going to invite all of us to sing that. Carolyn Gauthier is going to lead us. The lyrics will be up here behind you, behind me, not behind you, behind me. Don't turn around. Don't do that. And the invitation is, I know it was a lot to maybe get here. I know there might be a lot going on. There's a lot going on in the world. So use this opportunity to center yourself right here and right now in this very room.
In this very room, there's quite enough love for one like me. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for one like me. And there's quite enough hope and quite enough power to chase away any gloom. For Spirit, sweet Spirit, is in this very room. And in this very room, there's quite enough love for all of us. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all of us. And there's quite enough hope and quite enough power to chase away any gloom. For Spirit, sweet Spirit, is in this very room. In this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough hope and quite enough power to chase away any gloom. For Spirit, sweet Spirit, is in this very room.
I'm just going to invite us all to continue to just center ourselves right here in the love that's in this room, in the love, whether you're here watching us on the live stream, whether you're in the courtyard watching the simulcast, that you are in this room in consciousness with all of us. And as we open our hearts, the invitation is to just bring John right here. To just allow him to arise in your awareness. To welcome him into this space as we celebrate all that he is, all that he's done, all the ways that he has touched our very lives. And we just bless it all right here. We bless him, we bless the family, we bless all who are in grief. We bless all the places where he planted something in the soil, in our hearts, in our awareness. We just bless it all. And standing in that gratitude for the opportunity to come together to lift up John and all of us ourselves as we get to hold him high. Just how grateful I am. So knowing this time is truly blessed and a blessing, I do give thanks. And so it is. Amen. Ashe. I'm going to invite Nicole to come up and read a daily word.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Nicole Slater. I'm John's daughter. And a quick, the last conversation I had with my father, I was telling him about all the stuff I'm stressed out with, and he had the best advice. And he said, let go and let God. So I'm going to read the daily word from the day that he passed. Let go, let God. Thursday, February 27th, 2025. I let go, let God, and act on divine inspiration. Having preferences and preferred outcomes is natural, but if I become too invested in a specific outcome, I may miss avenues of exploration and not recognize opportunities because I'm not expecting them. Letting go and letting God is a dynamic process that allows me to keep moving in the direction I have chosen while remaining open to other directions that may be better. I remain supple and in prayerful connection with God. I am ready to listen to my guidance and receive inspiration and insight that may lead me into new directions. I trust myself and believe in my ability to reach my goals and aspirations. I also trust God within, the presence and power that inspires my dreams and lights my way. Teach me to do your will, for you are my God. Let your good spirit lead me on a level path. Psalm 143:10. Thank you.
So it doesn't surprise me as I look out here that I don't know a lot of you, because John brought people together. That was one of his many gifts, was all the different communities that he was invested in and that meant so much to him. I remember when I first met John, one of the things that struck me so powerfully was just how strong his faith was and how important it was for his sobriety, for AA, for his life, for his relationships. He anchored something. And I remember seeing him walking up to me and thinking, oh, who are you? Because I was doing a lot of that when I first got here. Who are you? And he said, I'm the one in the garden. And I knew exactly who he was. His care, his love, the way he brought so much of himself to everything that he did. When he committed to something, he committed to it, even if it was like a leading edge. So last year for Earth Day, I did a talk about taking care for 7 generations, right? And then I took a picture of my garden, and I showed it to everybody, and it was just overrun with weeds. There was nothing there but weeds. And we live in a rental. My wife and I live in a rental, and so a part of me had been thinking, well, it's just a rental. I'm not going to invest in the garden, because if we move out, then, someone else will get to enjoy it. And it really hit me that I needed to care for that garden for the next generation, for the next renters, for whoever was coming next. And I have one of those thumbs that kills plants as it gets close. And so I went to John and I said, will you help us? Will you help us to plant a garden that will attract? I had a whole list of things I wanted it to do, of course. And John said, absolutely, of course I will. And then I find out later that he was like, I've never done this before. I don't know how to do this. And he designed a garden for my wife and I, and he planted it. So my wife was weeding it yesterday, and this is how, this will tell you a lot about our relationship, right? She was weeding it, and she hit something, and she was like, I don't know if that's a plant or a weed. And she just said, John, what do I do? And she said there was just kind of total silence. And she was like, okay, it's a weed. And she pulled it out. His presence is felt. His presence is felt. Every time I walk up to that meditation garden, every time I look at the beauty of this campus, his stamp is indelibly here. If you go out at some point and you look along the side of our sanctuary over here, we used to have some kind of plant growing there that John did not like. And so he and Santon dug it up, and they planted tulips, and they bloomed today. Those kinds of things keep happening, just keep happening. And it's really just a beautiful, beautiful reminder of his presence and how he is always here and how deeply, deeply missed he will be. So I'm going to invite BJ up at this time so that she can share a little bit from her own heart.
Wow. Feel the love. Feel the love. So thank you all for being here. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the girl next door. Grateful and blessed to have been married to this awesome and simple guy who we celebrate today. Grief is a journey, and I'm so grateful that I haven't had to travel it alone. Thank you all for being here to honor John. His sudden death was a shock to everyone, a real shock. Thank you for holding the high watch for myself and our family, and for all of your prayers. Sometimes I literally felt like I was floating, and I felt that so much. For your support. I have hundreds of cards, and to be honest with you, I still haven't opened some of them. There's just so many, and I can only take so much in at one time. I don't even do social media, and I hear there's like 250 posts on Facebook, and all the texts and the phone calls and the people knocking on our door, and just so grateful for all of you and for all of your donations to his memorial fund for the Unity Meditation Garden to keep that going in his honor. A special thanks to those of you who have carried my grief with me and at times for me when it was too great to bear, especially in the beginning. Really tough. You know who you are, and I am so grateful. Community, as Theanne said, was very important to John, and there are so many different communities here represented. It's a testament to how much he loved and how much he was loved, because you're all here today, and thank you. John and I had a magical love story. He told me all the time that I was the best thing that ever happened to him, and he really meant it. We met 15 years ago at a block party that I threw in our neighborhood, and John brought a huge salad from his veggie garden. There was something about him that was very attractive, but I knew my picker was broken, and I just let it go to God, and I waited. Our paths would cross often, but he didn't make a move, so I waited. Fast forward a year, when I threw another block party, and he overheard a conversation that I was having with one of our neighbors about forgiveness, and it piqued his interest. He had also brought another salad, and I was pretty impressed with that. The next day we ran into each other at the trash bins. I was taking things out and he was putting things in. And that's one of our jokes. And he asked me about my spiritual life. So I had an opportunity to share with him. And the day after that, he left a bag of zucchinis on my car with a note. And the note said, "For some unknown reason, I can't stop thinking about you. Would you like to go out for coffee sometime?" And the next night, we went out for ice cream, and we talked halfway through the night. And he told me his life story and let me know that his number one priority was his sobriety, 30 years last October, and his relationship with God. And he didn't want to waste any time, so if I couldn't buy in, he didn't want to waste any time. Well, I did buy in, and we were together ever since that first night, building our life together. It took some time for me to understand some of John's behaviors. When we first started dating, he gave me as a joke, I found this the other day, he even put this little thing on, John's quirks and isms. And I started to fill it up, and it filled up really quickly, actually. And it was part of our ongoing humor. So I looked at it the other day and I was cracking up. So these are the things I learned very early on. When at a party with John and he asks, "Are you ready to go?" he really means, "We are out of here right now." He was not a lingerer, let me tell you. So I think he's lingering today, and he's laughing about this. But he had, sensory issues, so he got overly stimulated and needed to leave. Here's another one. John writes a lot of things on small pieces of paper and leaves them in many places around the house. John believes that riding his electric bike 1 mile to work is cardio exercise. Some of John's behaviors that annoyed me are the most endearing memories that I miss most. Waking up to the sound of him shuffling in his slippers on the hardwood floors at the wee hours of the morning as he's unloading the dishwasher and thinking he's being quiet. Driving out of our way to San Anselmo or Mill Valley to get the cheapest gas in Marin County. And having full conversations talking with himself. His lips move, but no sound comes out. And he's usually planning his next garden project. John loved me fiercely, gently, and unconditionally. A few years ago at Sunday Coffee, one of our friends who's here today came up to us and said, "John, you are making the rest of us husbands look bad, always having your arm around BJ or holding her hand and looking at her like two teenagers in love." We were best friends, and we cherished our time together. His quick wit and humor kept us laughing every day. We loved being in nature, hundreds and hundreds of hikes, literally. When I'm looking, how many selfies can you take of hikes? And trips to the beach are our two happy places. Beachcombing for treasures like our driftwood angel playa, who you can't see, but Marcella created this beautiful floral arrangement over playa that we had found in Gualala when we were dating, and she was waterlogged and weighed about 50 pounds, and I made John carry her back to the car, and then we created this beautiful statue for our living room. Working together in our own veggie garden or collaborating on a project for the meditation garden was some of our favorite activities. On our Friday night date nights to dinner, and then a Jason Statham movie for John or a chick flick for me afterwards. John was my protector. And he kept drama and chaos out of our house, creating a peaceful and harmonious space. He set the tone for only good, and when we, slipped into negativity, he would do this: cancel, to help us make a shift back. He taught me boundaries, he taught me self-care, and he encouraged me to join Al-Anon, which really saved my life. He was my cheerleader and supported me so that I could show up and live out my purpose in my own work. He'd have dinner ready when I came home from work, and he'd make me healthy lunches to take to work. He'd clean the house, he'd do the grocery shopping, he tended our veggie garden, and so much more. My favorite verse in the Bible, as some of you know, is Christ in you, the hope of glory. And years ago, I asked John, what was his glory? And without hesitation, the first thing he said was, my kids. Nicole, you are so much like your dad. Dad would be frustrated after a conversation with you and say, why does she always have to be right? And I'd say, look in the mirror. Before you were born, your dad had pretty much lost his faith, and when you were born, he knew that there must be a God because you were such a miracle, and you were his way back to his faith. Being raised by a single dad had its challenges, I know, especially when you didn't see eye to eye. He loved you more than life itself and was so proud of you and the woman that you became. He was over the moon that you and Doc found each other and are building a life together. He was so looking forward to walking you down the aisle. Ryan, you have Dad's sense of humor and quick wit. When we lived together, you both were one-upping each other all the time. And it kept me laughing until I would cry and my cheeks would hurt so much, and I'd be like, you guys gotta stop, I can't handle it anymore. He cherished your times together growing up and wished circumstances had been different for you to have more. The first time I met him, 15 years ago, he was sharing that he was going to retire early from Kaiser and move to Chicago to help raise you through high school, and how much he was looking forward to that. I thought, wow, this is a great guy. He was proud of you and the man of God that you've become, and grateful that you found your one true love, Christine. He was looking forward to someday being a grandfather. I know he'll miss that. John resisted change. He liked to have things his way. The last couple of years, he was really working on being more accepting and understanding of others who were different than he, and making a shift to see things with a new perspective of radical acceptance. When the Montessori children started to come up to the garden as part of their classroom experience, John would come home really upset and say, why can't they just stay on the path? They're walking all over my plants. And I thought about it, and I said, you know, they're 3 years old. And they live in the moment. And they're experiencing, exploring. You are their teacher, and they are yours. Well, he took that to heart. And soon was coming home and sharing how excited he was that the kids had come up to the garden today. They called him Gardener John. And they all planted bulbs or spread wildflower seeds. And they counted the monarch cocoons and found ones hiding with their sharp little eyes that he had never seen. And John always had dog treats in his pocket for the neighbor dogs. For 10 years, I begged him to get a dog. I'd always had a dog. And he would always say, they smell and poop. Why would anybody want a dog? So about 1.5 years ago, he literally surprised me on Christmas Day with our little Flash, who couldn't come today because he's not real social. Here's Flashy. He weighed 5 pounds when he got him. He's our little rescue, and now he's 8. John was clear that Flash would never get on the sofa or sleep with us. He liked rules. He had lots of rules. So that lasted about a month. And he cracked John's heart wide open. They were a lot alike. Their tails were wagging, loving everyone, but not liking a lot of people. You had to win them both over. And I am so grateful now that I have Flash to keep me company and to remind me of John's love. John loved God. He loved Jesus. And he embodied the Christ consciousness within. He began each day with a prayer. your will, not mine. I would often find him in the mornings doing his 11-step quiet time, reading his daily reflections, and in prayer and meditation. One morning ritual that we had was reading the daily word, and we drew our little angel card every morning to set our intention for the day. And so on the tables outside, there's baskets of angel cards, and everyone, please draw one and take it home for yourself. And John would always say before drawing every morning his card, "What can I do for you, God, today? What can I do for you?" John was a man of integrity. He had a high standard of excellence in whatever he did, whether perfecting sourdough bread or creating a succulent masterpiece. John's outer life was a reflection of his inner life. He always said his superpower was love, and its service was his purpose here on earth. His favorite t-shirt was "Do good, be kind." Serving others is what brought him meaning and joy. Taking on a commitment at an AA meeting or sponsoring a newcomer, driving a Marin Villages member to a doctor appointment or helping them repot some plants, baking bread and cookies for his guests at the West Point Inn, being a prayer chaplain here at Unity for quite a few years, and a rite of passage mentor for our church teens. And of course, spending endless hours each week tending to the meditation garden here at church. And please take some time, as Deanne mentioned, to walk it this afternoon. John lived in gratitude with an abundance consciousness. Our own motto was "Double it, Lord," always seeing and appreciating the good and experiencing more and expecting it. Things came easily and effortlessly to John. Free plants for the meditation garden, his ideal job, retirement job at the West Point Inn. A few years ago, we made a vision board together, which is outside, and everything on it came into reality. A couple of months ago, John told me, "I have a perfect life." And I said, "You really do. And how lucky we are that we get to spend it together." John left this earth a better place. He had no regrets. His relationships were in order. For whatever reason, his work was done here, and he is still with us in spirit. And I feel his presence all the time. John would want us to live life to the fullest, to cherish the moment, to support each other, to do good, to be kind, and to be the love.
Do good, be kind. I'm going to invite Nicole to come on up.
No pressure. I didn't bring any props, but I brought some good stories. I wanted to share my experience. The day before my dad made his transition, I found a dead yellow goldfinch right in my garden. It was one of the most beautiful things I'd ever seen. At first a little scary, but I was just so drawn to it. I had this inclination to put roses around it and memorialize it on this bed of moss. But I, like my dad, I'm a gardener, and I was busy and I was puttering around. So I was like, I'll get back to that, The power had been out all day, and I was just really off kilter. I was really upset. And I can be cantankerous every once in a while, but usually I'm in a pretty good mood. So it was very weird to be just so off all day and just grumpy and the power's supposed to come back on. I'm supposed to teach a workshop that night, and so I have to change locations. So I go to my friend's house to do the Zoom. And as I'm walking up to this beautiful house, I find a dead hummingbird right on the front steps. And that was my dad's spirit animal. And I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? Is this an omen? I think maybe in my life I've seen one dead bird, so it was pretty upsetting. The next day I got the news Obviously, I was shocked, as we all are. And I told BJ, I'm driving up tomorrow and we'll figure this out together. As I was driving home, my dad came to visit me. And in my mind, he had this bright light shining behind him, and he was wearing one of his classic flannels in a ball cap. And he said, and he's touching his heart, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. I'm home. I'm with my Creator. And this is so cool. And he had that look in his eye. He's looking around, you know. He said, I love you. I'm rooting for you and Ryan. Take care of BJ. And then he got very serious. And my boyfriend Doc is here and his mom Lynn. And he said, let Doc take care of you. Let him in. And he was very serious about it. So I asked him, as you do when you're talking to the spirit of your father, what do you want for your celebration of life ceremony? Because you know he has opinions on it. And he got that smirk he always had, and he just said very confidently, I want you to go up there and tell everyone how amazing I am. Is that not my dad, right? And he laughed, and he just went back, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. I drove up the next morning, and we started to put the pieces together. We're all in shock. How could this happen so soon? That night, I had a dream, and I was on a rooftop, some beautiful brick building, and all around me were these black bars, so preventing people from jumping over. It was a couple stories high. And I look across the way, and there's another building, another brick building, the same level. And there's all these boxes and tools, and it's just kind of in a disarray. No one's been there for a very long time. I see my dad over there. And as he does, and as I do as well, he's just puttering around. He's just, you know, like he's looking at everything. And I go, Dad, hey, you gotta come visit me sometime. And he just looks, he doesn't even look up. He just puts a hand up. He just goes, I will. I love you, but I'm busy. He was already put to work. He was already being of service. He's wasted no time. I'm so happy I got to speak to him, that he made a peaceful transition, that he's home and he's already being put to work. I know he's rooting for me, and he's going to be with me every step of the way, and I love him so much. And I'm so sad that I don't get to spend more time with him. But before I go, I want to share a little funny story about him. My dad worked as a surgical technician for many years at Kaiser Permanente. And one year, they were doing a weight loss challenge for the surgical staff. My dad had really strong willpower, so he immediately cut out flour, cut off sugar, and you know, men, they can drop weight a lot quicker, you know, so he was popular. And so he's dropping the pounds, but he wanted to win. And he's so competitive, as am I. So one day he snuck into the women's locker room and he decided to stuff chocolates in their lockers. And they immediately knew it was him. So they came out and they accused him of cheating, and he responded with his quick wit, well, you didn't have to eat the chocolates, did you? I get my competitive streak from him. I grew up practicing Taekwondo, and he came to all my tournaments, every belt test. He even held up the wooden board that I broke, not before hitting his fingers a couple times. We had our ups and downs. But at the end, we were good. Our relationship was healed, and I'm so thankful for that. There are 1,000 moments coming up in my life that I want to call him. I want to ask him a gardening question, or just hear his voice. but I know he's looking down on me and Doc with so much love and support. My father was a man of service, integrity, and of love, and you guys all knew that. He touched so many lives as evidence by all the people here, all the people live streaming. I wanted to do a big, hey, everyone wave up to the people live streaming. Thank you, all the people up there. Whoop, whoop. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for witnessing how amazing he truly was. He will be missed. And so it is. And so it shall be. And in the famous words of John Slater at the end of every phone call, well, I'm done talking now. Thanks for calling. I love you. I love you, Dad, and I love you all for being here. Thank you.
We did capture the smirk. I'd like to invite Carolyn and Dallas to come on up. We have another song for us all to join in and sing together. This was one of John's favorites.
Weave us together, weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together, weave us together, together in love. We are many textures, we are many colors, each one different from the other, but we are all woven together in one great tapestry. Weave us together, weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together, weave us together, together in love. We are all instruments playing our own melodies, each one tuning to a different key. But we are all playing in harmony, in one great symphony. Weave us together, weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together, weave us together, together in love.
To invite Brian Michaels to come on forward.
Hi. Hello. All right. I need a deep breath, so let's all take a deep breath together. In and out. All right. Hi, I'm Ryan. I am John's son. His favorite one, funny enough. Maybe his favorite child, but we haven't argued that out yet. So we'll get there, all in due time. I had a whole speech written out that I was like, oh, this is really solid. That doesn't sound good anymore. These two already beat me. So I'm going to go from the heart instead. I lived in Illinois my whole life. Well, now I live in Wisconsin, but neither here nor there. We're basically 10 minutes from my old town. So I only saw my dad once or twice a year growing up. And for a long time, I held some really strong feeling towards him on that. I was like, why can't he be with me, right? Like, I didn't think about Nicole or literally anyone else because I was 7 when I was thinking this. So, very self-centric. And as I've gotten older and gotten to know my dad more, I don't think he would have wanted anything else but to be there, but he needed to be here. He needed to be with his family here for himself, for Nicole, for all the people in his life. And I see that now, looking at you all and realizing how loved my dad was. It is such a special feeling. Also, quick interject, I'm going to cry. I apologize in advance. But, okay, all right, well, when I start sobbing, I'll walk off. I'm just kidding. As BJ said, I've got his quick wit. He was a little bit funnier than me. I'll give him that since he's now passed, but only for today. Only for today. And then after that, it's me. My dad was a special, special man, and I didn't learn that until I was too old. And so as I've been grieving and going through this whole process, I've been talking with Nicole and my wife, Christine, and my mom about what he meant to me, right? And how he influenced me as his son. And I did not nearly give him enough credit for what a good man he was. And I am so thankful that over the past couple of years, we got to know each other for real. I got to know who he was. He got to know who I was, and we got to grow together. And last year, I finally graduated from college. It took me 7 years to get my associates. You can tell I got his smart genes. Yes, let me preface that. I was working full-time and paying my way, and Dad helped, and so did my mom, and so many other people in ways so much more than monetary, right? And he was so proud. He was so proud of me because he was so adamant, go get your degree. I told him at one point, I was like, I'm so done with school. I hate this. He's like, I don't care. Get your degree. At least get your associates. And then as soon as I finished, he was like, all right, time to go get your bachelor's. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. But shortly, when he and Nicole came to my graduation, which was the last time I saw him, it was so special, right? Nicole and I talk all the time. I'm going all over the place, and I apologize, but it's my brain. BJ is by far the best thing that ever happened to him, and one of the best things that ever happened to me. All right, we're locked in. All right. She is the best thing that ever happened to him because it made him such a kind, understanding, loving person. Not that he wasn't those things beforehand. He just had a really hard time expressing that. And since I'm so much like him, we butted heads quite a few times. He moved out. This is the real saint that both BJ and my dad are. They moved out to me to live in Chicago for my first couple years in high school. And mind you, they had been married for all of about 5 months. And immediately, BJ threw herself between my father, stubborn, and his 14-year-old son, stubborn. And she was a hero through all of that. So thank you for putting up with us. But it was so good because I got to know my dad, and I am now understanding at 25, all he did was care and love and support. And, he was at every cross-country meet, every wrestling meet, every baseball game. He was there. unless it was on the south side of Chicago. But you know what? That one's understandable. But he was such a good man, and I am so grateful I get to call him Dad. And back to the graduation, one of the last things he told me before he took off on his plane was he was so incredibly proud of the man I had become and the wife I had married and how beautiful she was and how wonderful of a person she was. And we really healed our relationship that last year. And he called, the last time I talked to him on the phone, he said, "You're everything a guy could hope for a son." So thank you, Dad. You are everything I could hope for a father. And I just wish I got more time with you. Thanks.
I think we all need to take another breath together, yes? Let's breathe in, and let's breathe out. And I'm going to invite Fran Kushman to come on up.
Well, that's going to be tough to follow. I'm Fran. Johnny was my brother. Everybody here calls him John, but he's Johnny to me. I wrote down a few things. My assignment was to say a few things and how it was growing up in the Slater household. So here we go. What was it like growing up in the Slater household? Well, my mom and dad had 5 children, 2 boys and 3 girls. Needless to say, my mother's hands were very, very full. Johnny was the second born to my parents. And the things that Johnny really liked to do was play baseball. So he was in Little League Baseball. He loved it, absolutely loved it. He loved to tell corny jokes. So this is an ongoing thing since childhood. And he really liked to boss us around. So the joke-telling part was his favorite pastime. He just thought they were so funny. He even had a book that he would carry around with him, and if he could get a captive audience, he would just like and tell a corny joke. So, but the funniest thing is, he was the only one who really thought they were funny. So yes, he thought he was the king of joke telling. That's okay. He was a little boy at the time. Some of the things we did together as a family was play 3 Flies Up, hide and go seek, and tag. That took up a lot of our time. We were outside all the time. So my dad, he loved to fish, and he would take all of us to the seashore and teach us how to dig for sand crabs. So all of us kids, all of us 5 kids were in there shoveling the sand and pulling them up, and all these crabs would be crawling all over our hands, and then my dad would teach us how to use them for bait. So that's where I'm sure John got his love for fishing. So here we were, mom and dad and 5 kids in tow, walking down to the beach with all the fishing gear that we needed. And my mom, she would pack us sandwiches and snacks and, of course, Kool-Aid. That was her thing. She loved Kool-Aid. And one of the things we learned as children was to iron. My mom was a stickler about pressed clothing. And we all learned the proper way to iron. So that was her thing. And one day, I was ironing my school uniform. I think I was around 10 years old or so. And my brother Johnny came by and he said, "Hey, sis, since you're ironing, do you think that you could iron my shirt?" And my response was, "Are you kidding me? I have plenty of my own ironing to do, and you're just going to have to wait until I'm done, and then you can iron your own shirt." Well, it was game on for him. he goes, flashed that beautiful smile of his, and the little glint in his eye was just like, oh, I'm going to get her, you know. And he said, please, come on, sis, please. Well, this went back and forth, back and forth. I said, no, I have my own to do. Please. Then he would giggle and laugh and jump around the ironing board. And finally I said, all right. So I broke in, and he was so proud of himself. He broke me down. Yeah. That was a good day for John Slater. And the grin on his face was priceless. I have to say, I honestly didn't spend a lot of time with my brother as a child. Our age difference kept us apart. He had his own interests, and I was just his little sister, so he didn't have time for me when I was a kid. That being said, my brother Johnny was a very interesting fellow. As adults, we became very close. We had many, many long talks and wonderful conversations. We talked about nature and the beauty of the redwoods. We talked about God and how wonderful he is. We talked about gardening and baking bread, and we all know how Johnny loved his bread. Yes, we pretty much talked about everything, but the conversations always came back to family. He would always ask about each person by name. There's a lot of us, so I won't go through the names. So he didn't forget anyone. He would even ask about our husbands, and of course, how the fishing was in Southern California. He sure loved to go fishing. Johnny made sure to show up for special family events. It was important to him to be present. I so appreciated that about him. My brother came to me one day and asked if I had any scripture he could share with a friend of his. She had a problem with worry. She had a problem with negative energy. And he couldn't seem to help her. And it was his passion to point her in the right direction. So he came to me, his baby sister. So I showed him in Nehemiah, a chapter, Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 10. The last part of the verse says, do not sorrow, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. And he was so thankful that I shared that with him. He goes, oh, yeah, that's really good, sis. Thank you. He was so happy that I had a verse from the Bible to share with him so he could share with his friend, his Christian friend. How awesome is that? Yeah, that's special to me. Yes, Johnny was my big brother, and I loved him very much. And of course, I still do. I will miss him. Now he's in the arms of our Heavenly Father, his Creator. I have joy in knowing I will see him again someday. Thank you.
So we're going to have another song. I'm going to invite you, if you wish, to stand up while we're singing, to give ourselves a little bit of movement. You don't have to, but if you feel like you'd like to just kind of move a little bit.
And this was one of John's favorite songs that he wanted to have, the family wanted to have sung. And it's actually more of a chant. So it's really easy for you to pick up on, and it's repetitive. So let's keep on breathing, as everyone has suggested. Such a good idea, and sing along as you feel comfortable. I am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited right now, right There are no chains that bind me. I am free. I am unlimited right now. Right now. Again, I am free. I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free. I am unlimited right now. Right now. I am free. I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free. I am unlimited right now. Right now. We are free. We are free. We are unlimited. There are no chains that bind us. We are free. We are unlimited right now. Right now. We are free. We are unlimited. There are no chains that bind us. We are free. We are unlimited right now. Right now.
Thank you. I love that. So I'd like to invite Joe Greenwood to come on forward, please. Oh, sorry. I was like, where?
You're not the first person that's ever said that. Okay. My name's Joe Greenwood, and I'm an alcoholic. There's no way to talk about Alcoholics Anonymous and John without saying, so the whole anonymity thing is gone today. So I just want to feel the thing in the room for a minute here. Just give me a minute. I was going to write some stuff down that just didn't feel genuine to me. When BJ called and told me about John's passing, I was driving, and it sucked the air out of me. It literally did. And I had to pull over. I was on the freeway. I had to pull over. And, I got to know John we had a sponsor, a mutual sponsor together. This very loving man named Tom Krebs. We called him TK. There are a lot of people in the room here today who are from the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And there are some men who are in that group. And when I was about 5 or 6 years sober, something like that, TK decided that we were going to have quarterly men's meetings because he thought it would be a great idea for us to help sponsor each other. And we would get to know each other, so in case something happened to him, we would have each other to fall back on. And one of these dinners, one of these meetings, we used to just do dinners, John showed up. And he was just actually he was very quiet. He was very serious, and I really liked him. He was a really good guy. And he talked about having this young daughter, Nicole, and we got to meet Nicole, and she would hang out at the meetings. She liked going to the meetings because there was all sorts of sugar she could eat there. And John kind of liked the sugar too, but it was really for Nicole. Anyway, every 3 months we would get together and we would talk about our lives and share as we grew together. Come on in, Robbie. There you go. And so we would all share about how our lives were developing and what was going on. The topic of the meeting was what it was like today. And so I've heard all about Nicole growing up, and I met Ryan today for the first time, but I've heard about you for some time too. It's funny, you really laugh like your dad. You really do, yeah. John loved Alcoholics Anonymous. He really did. He was serious about his sobriety. He was serious about keeping the program and following the traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I think it's safe to say that if John hadn't got sober, a lot of you probably wouldn't be here today. He had his faith, but he was really, when he first got sober, I remember it was a big deal for him to come back. And one of the things that we do in Alcoholics Anonymous, it's not about not drinking, okay? For those of you who don't know, it's about how you're living, right? We don't care about where you've been. We care about where you're going. And John got that. He got that it was about service, and it was about gratitude for your life in Alcoholics Anonymous. Gratitude is an action word. It's demonstrated through service, through what you can do for others. Clearly, he did that with this community here. It's an amazing thing for me as a recovered alcoholic, as a recovering alcoholic, to witness, to bear witness to the thing in the room that I'm feeling here today. Just such a powerful thing. God in love. Right? And it started with just him saying one thing. My name's John, and I'm an alcoholic, and I need help. And he got that. And he continued to share it with others. I only had a couple minutes to talk, and so there were a couple things I know that John would want me. First, John would want me to say that he was a terrific member of Alcoholics Anonymous. Probably the best secretary ever. Oh my God, and the coffee that man made was so good. When TK was dying, there are about 7 of us here today who were in the room that were members of that men's group. And when BJ asked me to speak, I said I agreed to do it only because I basically representing those men. John asked me to sponsor him when TK was dying. And I said I would be happy to. I was honored to. I said, but we would just sponsor each other. And that's what this group of men does. We sponsor each other. We tell each other what's going on. We share everything with each other. There are no secrets in our group. None. And God is just so strong in it. It's just an amazing thing. I will miss my brother in sobriety very much. I'm very proud to have known him. And I want you to know, BJ, that the whole fellowship is standing right behind you right now. And that if you need anything, we are here for you. So I'd like to do one thing for John because he really loved it. So I'm going to say something, and it's going to be group participation. All you have to do is yell really, really loud. I want you to yell as loud as you can when I say this. Hi, John, okay? I want him to hear it up there. His name was John, and he's an alcoholic. Hi, John! Bye, John.
David Durr, come on down.
I don't do too well off the cuff, so I've got it written out. Bear with me. First, I want to thank everybody here for showing up for this. Yep, there we go. I'd like to express the sense of loss that I feel with the passing of our friend John. John's left his physical body behind, but your spirit will continue to reside with us into the future. I'd like to read a poem that sort of struck me, and I'd like to dedicate it to John. Sweet is the fragrance of the air, cool and laughing in the breeze. The gardens are now wonders with blossoms in the trees. The hills and valleys now are green, and all the world is glory. The nestlings sing aloud and clear and welcome you this sweet day. Now, I first met John when he started up at the West Point Inn. I'm one of the innkeepers on Mount Tam. This was back in 2017. John became one of our innkeepers, and you know, it did not take him long to fill in and become part of the innkeepers. He adapted quite well. We've got a couple here. Gordon is one of our innkeepers. He blended easily into our ranks. John also answered the call of our vegetable garden up at the end, and he later developed a beautiful succulent garden by our chicken coop, along with plantings that he did out front of the inn. Each new innkeeper has to job shadow an existing innkeeper just to learn, you know, the ropes of what it takes to be an innkeeper. It's more than a paid vacation up there. I'm known as the baking innkeeper, and when John job shadowed me, he fell in love with the art of bread, and it didn't take him long. To excel as a bread baker. Later, John, he joined the ranks of, we've got a hiking club. We call ourselves the OC Hiking Club. We're the old coots, the old codgers, and old curmudgeons. It consisted of Norman Oates, my childhood friend. We've been hiking about the last 60 years. John Chanel, another friend from school, and also I was in construction as Norman was. John Chanel was also in construction, and then John Slater. The three of us, and sometimes four of us, would go out on many wild adventures on the mountain, pouring through the old history books. We went looking for places that used to exist that no longer exist. And for the most part, we found them. John had a love of life. Most importantly, a love for BJ. And his family. He had a love of gardening, a love of baking, and a love of the West Point Inn in Mountain Bias. John, my friend, you're going to be missed. Hats off to John.
The wonders of modern technology. So Rick Craigstein is going to speak.
Welcome to the memorial service for John Slater. John and I were best friends for over 50 years. We met each other in our early 20s. He was just out of the Army and I was just out of the Air Force. And we met at Santa Monica College in Santa Monica, California. We also bumped into each other at mutual friends' houses for parties and things like that. And we immediately hit it off, and we realized we had a lot in common. I was born and raised in Santa Monica, and he was born and raised near the beach in Venice, California. We spent some time together, living together in an old brownstone apartment on the beach in Santa Monica, and that cemented our friendship. Shortly after that, we both got restless. I went off traveling, he went off traveling, and we lost touch with each other. A few years later, though, I was living in Colorado, and I began to wonder about John, and I missed him. So last thing I heard was that he was living somewhere in Texas. So I called all the major operators in Texas, um, San Antonio, Fort Worth, Dallas, and then finally I called Houston and I asked for all the John Slaters there in their directory. After about the sixth time, I called a John Slater and I said, "Is this John Slater?" And he goes, "Yes." And I said, "Were you born and raised in Venice? And did you know a guy named Rick Kriegstein?" And he goes, "Yes." And we hooked up again after about, I'd say maybe 6 or 7 years of not being in touch at all. He came up and visited me a couple of times in Colorado. I went down to Texas a few times and visited him. And then in about 1985, I lived with him and his wife at the time, Deborah, in their place in Houston, and I witnessed the birth of their daughter, Nicole, a brand new baby, beautiful girl. And then after that, I moved back to Northern California. And a few years later, John moved out as well. He moved to Marin County, and I was living in Sonoma County. And we started doing things together, hiking. We even camped out a couple of times. Just had a great time together. And I saw John really change over the years. He met and married BJ. And BJ, this is to you. You changed John so much. You made him such a better person. I just can't believe the change that came over him. I really believe that you and John met just in the nick of time for John, because I have a feeling he was kind of getting set in his ways and becoming one of these lifetime bachelors. And I didn't want that for him. I knew he really needed a woman to settle down with, and he found you. And so I just want to hand it to you, BJ. You did a great job with John. John really evolved in his later years. He became a great baker. He inspired me to start my own yeast starter. We would send each other photos of our latest endeavors with our breads and things like that. And I got to say, his bread was really good. He made the best sourdough bread I ever tasted. And then he became an innkeeper at the West Point Inn up in Mount Tam in Marin County. And he loved that job, and he flourished in it. It was, he's kind of a people person. And, of course, it involves handling people. And being up there in Mount Tam, he really got to know the flora and the fauna. And it was really just a great position for him. Anyhow, I just want to say to everybody and to John, wherever he is, John, I think about you every day. And I miss you dearly, my old friend, and I love you. I hope you're in a good place. Farewell. Bye.
John really did love the mountain. Every once in a while, I'd get this text from him, and it would be a picture, and he'd be, "I'm on the mountain." And it would just be whatever he was looking at. It was really beautiful. So we have some photos to share, a montage of John's life. So we're going to start that right now. going to invite us all to rise. And we're going to close with two of John's favorite things. And those of you who are from Unity and Marin are also maybe going to say, oh, yay. We're going to do the Serenity Prayer together. And then we're going to sing the peace song. So, together, please. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I'm going to invite Carolyn up. The words will be there. In tradition, in Unity, we would all hold hands. So if you're comfortable doing that, please hold hands with whoever is next to you.
Even across the aisle. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be, with God ever present, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joy is now. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Thank you, everyone. Please join us in the courtyard, and Ryan Michaels is going to offer grace before dinner is served. You can go out this way to get into the courtyard as well.